Hi, it's Jan Beta, and today I want to take a look at something that Eevee makes and sent me. That is this thing, which came in this really nice envelope, but it came in another envelope around it, and I sliced it open and I sliced through this envelope. So, sorry about that, not very well done. This is the BackBit. And this one has the serial number 86. So this is kind of a hobbyist project, which is very sophisticated, and it is a C64 cartridge that allows you to load stuff from an SD card, among many other very useful things. And thanks to Eevee for sending this to me. First thing I want to do before I do anything else is to upgrade the firmware, because there are constant updates. First impressions, despite from me slicing through this, very well done on the design and styling, because there's a little butterfly. The envelope has butterflies, and I like the logo. This is a 3D printed case. Looks pretty well made. Nice push button. USB port, comes with a nice USB cable, and yeah. Let's try and update the firmware. Okay, we need to download the loader and the firmware. The BackBit. Downloads. Firmware. So we are at firmware version 2.0.4. This is like, I think the product is like 3 months old on the market. You can order it from Eevee. I'm going to put all the links below in the description, of course. Okay, we need a loader from pjrc.com, teensy loader HTML. Okay, teensy loader program. That's where you get the loader from PJRC. I'm going to link that in below. Macintosh version, because this is a Macintosh. So this runs on an Arduino. Teensy is an Arduino development board. So there we are, Teensy. We need to install this. So we need to drag this to the programs folder, applications folder. And we should be able to start this. There we are. Press button on Teensy to manually enter program mode. So I assume we have to connect this to our USB port. So first thing, I want to register an account with the BackBit forum. Gender. Oh, it has a non-binary option, which is really nice. I'm always really concerned that people are not including, if they are including a gender option at all, which I don't really find necessary. You can also, I think you can also just leave it blank, which is nice. Profession. What should I put? YouTuber? YouTube tinkerer, maybe. YouTube retro tinkerer. I did not answer the verification question correctly. Okay. Who founded Commodore? Oh, the verification question. I didn't even read that. I was assuming. Commodore was, of course, founded by Jack Tramiel. There we go. Okay, welcome to BackBit Forum. I just got the welcome email as well. Help and how to. Noob firmware update. Yeah, you have to press the correct button. I think there's a little pinhole where you have to press the button. Okay, so there, between the B and the A, there's a little hole that I can push down with a paperclip that I have lying around here, hopefully. So luckily, fortunately, I have a paperclip. So, okay, we should push the button to put it in programming mode, and then we should be able to just upgrade the firmware with the Teensy app. Yay! So now the Teensy app actually recognizes the BackBit, and I can just push program. And that should be it. Okay, so we now have the firmware upgraded. Yeah, so this should be updated now. Let's put it into the C64 and see what it can do. So one detail I nearly missed is that the cartridge has like a beveled, slightly beveled edge here for the connector, which makes it easier to insert. And it's only the outer edge that is a bit beveled, so it slides in easier. It still makes good contact because the main part that makes contact is a bit further in anyway, so it doesn't really affect how much contact it makes. Very nice detail. And if you happen to want to make your own cartridges or PCBs, this inside here is a PCB obviously, I recommend the sponsor for this video, which is PCBWay. And they offer high quality PCB manufacturing for prototyping and even higher volumes. They have a very neat website which basically guides you through the whole process. And they also have a tracking system now where you can see exactly where the production process and delivery process for your PCBs is currently, which is very handy. So go check them out. Oh, obviously we need an SD card inside the BackBit, but let's just see what it does. It lights up. And it tells me to insert a FAT formatted SD card. So yeah, let me just quickly format an SD card, micro SD that is, and put some files on there to check this thing out. Okay, I made an SD card. And you have to put a folder called BackBit on the SD card for this to work. I spared you the footage of me forgetting that because the cartridge alerts you that you have to put a folder called BackBit for saves and stuff. I think it's used for that. And it's also the starting folder, I think. Yeah, there we are. I just copied my 1541 Ultimate USB stick to the SD card. So I have cartridge images here, which should be accessible by the BackBit. I have PRGs, I have D64 files, and all kinds of other things. I don't think I have tape files, which this should also be able to access. Yeah, I think, but all in all, this just should give us a nice assortment of different format C64 thingies. Yeah, there we go. It's just instant loading. If you just have a single file, games and stuff, it just loads instantly, which is really amazing for a lot of things. By the way, this in memory of the great Uderzo, the person who until very recently drew all the Asterix comics, which I'm a huge fan of. So yeah, he just passed away a couple of days ago, so I just randomly chose this. Maybe that's a sign from above. Yeah, thanks for the Asterix comics. You know what, I'm just going to check this out in a bit more detail and go into screen capture mode, just capturing the footage from the C64. This has a button on it that you can push and get back to the menu. It also saves, it remembers the directory you were in when you left off, which is really handy, which is, I think, one of the biggest advantages over the 1541 Ultimate, because that doesn't remember the directory you were in. It always starts at the choice which USB stick you want to use. This just goes back into the directory at the exact position where you left off, which is really cool. Even if you turn off the machine, it remembers the position. Has a real-time clock, which is accurate still. Didn't set that yet. Has a lot of functions. We're going to go into that from the other perspective. So yeah, I'm just going to go to my streaming setup and record the screen and talk you through the rest of the functions. Okay, so I have set up the C64 in the capturing corner. I'm starting the C64 with the BackBit. And yeah, basically you can use this with the keyboard and with the joystick. I think both ports, yes, which is really cool. You can also just navigate through this. It loads, PRG files are loaded without any problems. That's just single files. P00 format, it can also load. D64s, it just loads the first file. It's like typing load star, (8, 1). Yeah, and it's instant loading. If you just load a PRG, it just instantly starts the game, which is really cool. Really easy to do. And you can just for just playing games and just having something that works really conveniently. This whole device was meant to be... The idea came from... Evie worked at a museum, at a computer museum, and they had like Commodore 64s basically in storage and didn't have them for people to try them out because it was inconvenient to have a 1541 disk drive hooked up to it or just one cartridge or something like that. So she thought of making a really, really convenient multi-card for the Commodore 64, which then became the BackBit. And this can also be put into a single auto start mode. So there's a mode that just auto starts the game. If I push F7 now, I can use... The menus are really well done, by the way. The F7 menu is like the tool menu. You can burn to disk, which copies the selected D64 file to a real disk drive, which makes this really convenient. It also works the other way around. And because the BackBit doesn't take a serial port connection, it's just connected to the cartridge port, different than the Ultimate 1541, for example, or the SD to IEC. It doesn't take up the floppy disk connectors, so you can just connect a real floppy disk drive and burn, which is derived from CD burning because it's the most feasible way of explaining this to many younger folks, I guess. So Evie chose to call this burn to disk. And you can also use the auto start on boot feature, which, yeah, press the back button, trademark, to proceed, which is the only button on the BackBit. So now we have, we should be auto starting this game, which is kind of decrunching again, but it should work fine afterwards. There we are. We are auto starting this. Now I turn off the C64, and if I turn it on again, it should auto start after the intro. Yeah, it does. It auto starts Legend of Ninja. Which is really cool. It's a good game, by the way. And you can just turn that auto start mode off again by holding the BackBit button down and turning the C64 on, I believe. Yeah, there we go. You hold the button down, and if you release it, it just goes back to the menu. That's really nice. So you can just set it up to start a single game. You can just push run stop to access C64 Basic, which says BackBit C64 Basic, which is kind of a neat touch. And I think you can also save stuff and things like that. That's a bit advanced. And Yeah, basically the main thing about saving is that this is a non-destructive cartridge, so all the D64s are remaining untouched. It saves everything you save to a virtual disk in the BackBit folder, I think, in separate files for each disk, so you can have different versions of things. And you can watch Evie's video about that. There is a built-in Cid Player, which is really cool. Let me show you. Let's check out the Galencia stuff. The Cids. So you have a Cid Player. You just select a Cid file, which is the common Commodore 64 music storage file format now that also can be played on modern devices through Cid players. Yeah, you just press enter, basically, return. And we have the glorious Galencia soundtrack. Yeah, and the Cid format also allows for sub-songs, which you can scroll through with the cursor keys. Yeah, it's some slight issues with the Cid Player with some files, but I don't know if it's due to the files not working correctly, probably, or the Cid Player not working correctly. And as I said, this thing is just updated constantly. The firmware on this is constantly updated. Another neat thing, as you see, some stuff is like dark red, like the Bruce Lee Return of Fury tape file. These are files that can't be run. The BackBit detects the files you can't run. We can run cartridges instantly because it is connected to the cartridge port. We can run the Super Mario cartridge. It should work fine. Yeah, which it does, obviously. And it is instant loading. As I said, it's just kind of amazing. There are a few things that don't work, but I found most stuff works really well, even stuff that hasn't been made for working on a cartridge like this. And there are patches being made constantly for stuff to make things work better with the BackBit. Yeah, it can also read T64 files, I think. At least some of them. Some games just don't work because they are doing something strange with the memory, or they are using disk loading fast loaders, which don't work at all, basically. Yeah, but most things just work, which is awesome. And I think that many more things are going to work with future updates. This is a really new device still. Keep that in mind. I love the fact that you can just run cartridges and disks without any issues in this neat little package. And it has a lot more features. Let me show. You can make, if you have multi-load stuff, you can basically make BBT files, which are a special file format basically for the BackBit cartridge, which can incorporate large files, can incorporate multiple disk images even. That's really cool. This is a sample that Evie made, and this is provided on the website. It can show pictures, Koala Painter format pictures. I didn't find any sample pictures, and I was kind of too lazy to make my own, but it can allegedly, just like you play the Cid files, it can also display KLA or KOA, I think is the other format. I think it reads KLA. Koala Painter pictures, which is kind of a standard graphics format for the C64. And this BackBit intro BBT file is made up of Koala Painter pictures and Cid files. And it's quite impressive, really, because I think it's just the presentation that runs would you like to play a game? And I can say no and it just quits. I can say yes and it starts the kind of intro. That obviously can be loaded into memory pretty quickly because it's running through the cartridge port. Yeah, there's a lot of pictures in there. You can have huge BBT files with lots of data, and Eevee kind of hopes that people are going to develop games for that format. Like it's like kind of like the Easy Flash format, but more versatile. So this should be really cool for developers. If this maybe becomes kind of a standard, it would be really amazing. Yeah, you basically make these BBT files with the BBT tool. Of course, you can also run the diagnostic cartridge, which is just the normal diagnostic cartridge. And you can put this into auto start mode and have the diagnostic, basically have a physical diagnostic cartridge. Okay, so you can also have the dead test cartridge, obviously, which behaves kind of strangely because it's an Ultimax cartridge format, which uses a different memory location than the regular cartridges, but it still works. So you can have a dead test and diagnostics cartridge in one if you can set this to auto start. So if you have another C64, basically, you can run the dead test and the diagnostics. So it has some weird glitches at times, but the vast majority of stuff just works, which is awesome. So I do recommend this cartridge. And I also recommend, if you're interested in this, watching Eevee's videos about it. She has some really nicely made, entertaining and informative videos about this, where she explains in detail what this thing can do. I've used this for a couple of days and it is amazing. It's really cool. Definitely going to continue using this. I think it's not going to replace the Ultimate 1541 for me yet, but it has some functions that are really amazing, such like the disk ripping, which I'm going to try in a second. So I just got out my 1541-2. That is, I think, the best working 1541 drive I have currently. And yeah, let's just try the disk copying stuff. I actually have a disk I made with another program of Galencia, and I believe this is the older version of Galencia. I have a newer version now. Let's just try and see if we can start this. And then try to rip this to the BackBit SD card and copy the newer version of it to the actual disk, because I wanted to do that anyway. Okay, we should be able to push F1 and we are in the Utilities menu. We can rip from disk. And it's detecting the drive, but it did a crash, okay? So that didn't work. Let me try to do this on an NTSC C64, because I have one. That's a luxury I can do. Let's try that. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back with the NTSC version of the C64 that I have here. Let's try the rip from disk again. Me just turning on the drive. Maybe you have to turn on the drive in a different order or something. Rip from disk. Detecting drives. And it crashed! Is the drive? I wonder if the drive is okay. Let's just get out the cartridge and check the drive. Yeah, the drive is okay. Maybe let's try the original 1541. Okay, let's try that again, shall we? Let's see if my 1541 still works, which it should. There we go. I love these old drives. It's so nice. Was a good. If this doesn't work, it's still a good thing to have this out again. Okay, rip from disk. Detecting drives. It crashes. Okay, so it turns out there was a firmware update today. It's detecting the drive. Oh, there we are. Okay, that works. So it seems the firmware update, someone was broken in the firmware, just in the old firmware. So that was a good idea. Evie told me to update the firmware, so I did. And this is the version, the most recent version of the firmware that just was released today. So this seems to work. Let's see if we can put this on the disk there and how quickly that goes. Yeah, let's see. Very nice. Okay, this isn't too slow. Nice. I hope this works in the end. So it definitely takes a while, but yeah, this stuff does, I guess. Remember when I tried this with the SD to IC and draw copy? I think that took a lot longer than this, actually. Yeah, I should definitely have like stopped the time, but this I guess it takes like 3 minutes or something. It's nothing too serious. Can listen to a nice song on the radio or something and have this copy a disk across for you. Really cool. Okay, there we are. Copy succeeded. Press a key to exit. Nice. That wasn't too bad. Let's see if we can actually access the drive from the BASIC. That would be really cool. I don't know if this is supposed to work. No. It's actually, it has a new disk inserted. So the BackBit cartridge basically takes up the room for drive 8 when it's standard in its standard configuration. So we're just going to use the C64 without the cartridge to check whether the disk actually works. Yeah, it's Galancia on there. And it should just boot this up without any issues, I guess. And we should have Galancia running from the disk we just made with the BackBit from a disk image. Yeah, and it works absolutely no problem at all, of course. Okay, let's try it the other way around, I guess, which is really important too. Rip disks to D64 files. I feel like a real C64 pirate. Okay, let's see. F1, I think. Rip from disk. Yeah, rip from disk. And it detects device 8, CBM DOS. Nice. And this time, stopwatch. So I missed like a couple of seconds, but that's not too much. Let's just see how long this takes. In a very scientifically accurate way, with me setting the timer, setting the stopwatch, starting the stopwatch too late. It's going to differ a bit for different drives anyway, I guess, so it's going to take a couple of minutes, I guess. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Yeah, this really takes a while, but I mean, it's a C64 disk drive, and those are really slow without a fast loader, so yeah. Come on, you can do it. 5 minutes, 45 seconds and counting. So this takes a while. 7 minutes and counting. 8 minutes. Closing in on 9 minutes. Is it going to be finished before it's taking 10 minutes? Probably not. There we go. 10 minutes, 20 seconds or thereabouts, like a couple of seconds longer because I started the clock late. And there we are, there's our, it's named after the date. That's our ripped disk image. Let's see if we get anything if we just start it. Should be Whizball or something on there. I have no idea if this actually works. Yeah, there we go. Whizball. Very nice. That's really nice. Yeah, this worked, no problems at all. Really cool. Can I name this Whizball? How do I do this? Can I rename this some way? Oh, I can. I just... Yeah, okay, there we are. I can just press F3 for the properties and can then rename this Whizball. Rename file. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of... Yeah, I didn't think of that. There we are. Now we have Whizball in our list here. And can start it again and again. Very nice. Yeah, this thing is really powerful and really convenient, I guess. And especially if you want to use this, if you make an SD card that's a bit more organized than what I have here, it's going to be really cool for people who don't know their way around the system, basically, because they can just use a joystick to select something and then just go with it, basically, and start games that way. And I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to be made like, who are going to make SD card images for this and stuff like that, once this gets a bit more widespread. With all the games on there and stuff, and that's going to be really cool. Yeah, basically this mostly starts everything I threw at it as of yet. Except for multi-load stuff, but some multi-load stuff it also does, which just uses basic disk drive routines, I guess. That stuff can also work. But for single file stuff, this is just awesome. Okay, so we have to set it to the native Ultimax support for the dead test to work, I guess. This is my dead test card. Let's see if that works. Kind of doesn't. Oh, it does, okay. Yeah. And you can have this in auto start mode and have a working C64 dead test card. Can we have a Simon's Basic cartridge? Probably not, because it's a special kind of cartridge. Oh, we can! Nice! Okay, we can have a Simon's Basic cartridge. Can we have a Super Saxon cartridge? Joystick, one player. Yeah, we can, and it totally works. Nice. Super Saxon. This is a good way of testing the PLA in your C64, by the way. If this has graphical corruption or anything like that, the PLA is not working correctly. You can view text files, by the way, which is really cool. That's really handy too. So there's more that this can do, of course. I couldn't show everything in this video. I highly recommend checking out Evie's videos on her own channel that I'm going to link in the corner there and in the video description for your convenience. She explains in detail what things you can do. There's a lot of documentation in the forum for this. Once you are registered for the forum, you can access all that. The firmware updates are like done in a matter of seconds once you have the Teensy software installed. This is updated constantly, the firmware for this, and as you've seen, there are functional updates really that make this thing work better. So there's a lot that this is going to be able to do in the future. And once people start really putting stuff together for this with the BBT format, there's going to be a lot more that you can do with this still. Yeah, probably people are going to come up with all kinds of ways on how to use this. So can I recommend this cartridge? I definitely can. This is really useful for when you don't want to dig too deep into the system and still want to have a really convenient way of just playing games or starting software and just like getting your old disc collection on a modern format and being able to play that. This is really cool for just simulating cartridges of all kinds, just really quickly starting games. The BBT format also allows for large multi-load games. I think there are versions for games that have been optimized for this. There's a lot of patches that are probably going to get more and more over time on the website. This can also load D81s, this can load tape images, T64 images. This can be a real cartridge, basically. This emulates a real cartridge. You can use it as a dead test cartridge, you can use it as a diagnostics cartridge once you have the CRT images on here. Yeah, basically very versatile. There's a couple of things that don't really work 100%. But yeah, there are pretty few actually for a product this new. This just is a couple of months old really. And as I said, it's constantly updated, so I see a bright future for this thing. Yeah. So that's it from me. If you have opinions about this, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks Evie for sending this to me for review. I hope I did this thing justice. I probably couldn't because it can do more than I showed in the video. Check out Evie's channel for updates on what else this thing can do. And I'm looking forward to giving this some use and figuring it out fully in the future. Looking forward to updates and looking forward to hear from you what you think about this device. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you for your support, especially thanks to my Patreon supporters. And I hope to see you all soon on this channel. I'm Jan Beta, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.